I want our listeners to finally, after they listen to this podcast episode, they go to Twitter and they make their first viral tweet, not 1 million views, okay, 10,000 at least. Is it possible for you to give the exact steps?
Yes.
What do you do? Okay, it will not take you 5 minutes, it will take you maybe a couple of hours of research, scrolling the feed, looking for other replies of others to make your own one. Can you give us these exact steps how to do that?
I try to reverse engineer the way I do it, and it is basically you have to have a diary.
Hi, John.
Hi, hi.
What was the hottest drama in Twitter that you saw?
There were a lot of dramas on Twitter. Right? This week was not as hot, but there were enough dramas. Let's see.
I saw that one about Peter Levels, our beloved maker star. He said that course boys are not real makers and everybody should be making real things like SaaS or applications. This is the reason why Peter Levels unfollowed our French friend Dagobert.
Yeah.
Twitter said that you are now a course boy, not a real maker, so I don't follow you because your posts are not interesting. What do you think about this? Is it fair?
Well, I think his statement isn't wrong. I think there's a reason why he says that, and there are way too many people selling courses while not build stuff so that they could actually share their real experience, but they just fantasize and share the theory. And I think there is no shortage of that. But at the same time, I think there are people who share their own lessons, things they learned by doing. And in particular case with Dagobert, his courses, how to grow on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and he has grown on Twitter to 100K followers. So if there is one person who should make that course on Earth, that would be Dagobert. And why shouldn't he make that? I think it is very valuable because the other thing that Peter and others said that making products bring value, but making courses don't bring value because people buy the course and they get the dopamine of after buying the course and they never do anything. There is truth in that too,
Hmm.
but I think we should not look at the downsides because I think in entrepreneurship, we should always look at the upsides of everything because everything has
Hmm.
downsides and there are always the majority of people who fail, majority of people who don't do stuff, etc. But look at positives. And the positive thing about the
Mhm.
course Dagobert has produced is that I'm pretty sure there are enough people who read that course and started doing a lot more on Twitter. And even if that number is, let's say, 1% of people who bought the course, I think the course was net positive. So I'm on Dagobert's side. I think the course is a cool thing. But then to look from the other side, I think makers should not spend too much time on doing the core stuff and they should
Mhm.
eventually return back to being product people because otherwise you will not be relevant with your knowledge because the things you learned in 2020 aren't maybe as relevant today. So you should become founder again so that when we
Yeah.
buy a course from you, we buy a course from a founder, not from the course person.
Yeah.
And that push was pretty good for Dagobert. I think it actually was the key reason why he pushed himself to start the product and he started building Product Hunt clone and he has made
Mhm.
good sales on that and good traction. I think he's doing pretty well, and I think he's positioned really well to be the new Product Hunt founder. So I believe in him compared to all the other Product Hunt clones. That was the other uh, tweet I made that there were 100 Product Hunt clones
Yeah.
launched or said they will launch that week, but none of them have launched. And I've launched Launchpads, and I was just like that too. In May, I said that I will launch new Launchpad called Dev Hunt, and I will do it in 2 weeks. But then it took me 2 months, or actually 3 months, because people think that the Launchpad is just a website with items and upvoting buttons, but it's a lot more. It's the launch weeks, the prices, the emails, start, end of the week, and all filters, reviews, comments, moderations of the things. So it's a lot of things in the launch, but a lot of things, and it takes time to build it. So I'm not surprised that they are not launching. I think it will take them all weeks or maybe a month before they launch. But coming back to Peter,
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
Peter is using these new tactics. I call Tate tactics, like Andrew
Okay.
Tate. I don't compare these two guys, but it's just the tactics is that you trigger people on both
Okay.
sides with very short statements. And
Okay.
you do that so that people who also think like you but are afraid to say, they will support you, and people who
Mhm.
don't think like you, they will be triggered to oppose you. So you create a good fight between you and
Yeah.
the commentators, and also between the commentators. So you divide them, just as Republicans and the Democrats divide in US. You do pretty much the same with
Okay.
these statements. And I think he has mastered that pretty well. He's doing that on all different fronts, like both in politics, in countries versus countries, and in things like the course versus product. Because, of course,
I want to act as a devil's advocate here and defend Peter's position. He said that he unfollowed Dagobert because his feed is not relevant anymore to makers. That's just truth. Because if you don't make anything but a course, the only thing you know how to build is course. And all your tweet, your mindset will be about how to make courses, how to make content, how to sell courses. This is not bad. It's not bad. But it's about courses. The majority of makers are making something else, like applications, SaaS, and we want to know about your SaaS building experience, not about your course building experience. So this is a reason why I personally stopped following Dagobert actively. I still follow him, but I don't open his profile and look at his tweets anymore because all he does is the course, and there is nothing interesting for me personally as a maker. And I can completely understand Peter Levels, who felt literally the same. He just wasn't afraid to say that in public.
good point. Good point. I think his feed obviously isn't like the typical maker feed, but I don't know if we have to really differentiate these things so much, because
Mm,
a product guy, let's say you're building a product, it's
okay.
pretty quick. You get to a point where you talk about everything but not a product, because product has reached certain place where you do more of the marketing rather than the actual features, and you
Yeah.
talk about SDKs and code and features and things like that, right?
Hmm.
So I think some course makers are different from other course makers. And in this case, I still think that shaming, I wouldn't be shaming courses as much, because there is a downside of doing that. The downside is that A, people will not consume them, B, people will not make them. And but we all know that good courses are really good and people learn a lot from those. And I learned a lot from people who share the knowledge when they share even the course like knowledge on Twitter. So I think from one hand you're right, but from other hand, I always look at the impacts of the statements. And often when I say something on the internet, I think, how will it impact the people and their motivations? And I think there is no shortage of people who make products. In fact, too many people make products. And I actually think that it might even be the opposite. So I will say a very strange thing now that will sound really strange, but I think people over appreciate or over romanticize the product building. It is not as difficult craft anymore as it was
Mm.
in the past. I would say, I've been making this directory guide, which you can call as a course too. And it is way more difficult than anything else I've done in years. I could have made 2 SaaS products while I'm doing this one. It's really difficult to make really high quality content to educate other people
Mm,
that people will actually read, understand, apply, and execute. And that's my goal. So I think too many founders now think that building is all they need, but I don't think that's the answer. I think building is really easy now, and people should rather think that being interesting is the key. So you have to be interesting, because if you're interesting, I think you can grow other things from there. You can grow products, you can grow courses, you can grow services, anything
mm,
really, if you're interesting. And Dagobert is interesting. He's doing interesting stuff. It's not directly great if you want to learn how to build products, but it is still good if you're an entrepreneur, because one of your jobs is to be interesting too. And by seeing him being
yeah,
interesting, you will learn how you can be interesting too. And I don't think Peter Levels is interesting now. I mean, it's it's not like he's writing something that's interesting beyond his reach, right? He has huge reach and everybody knows him and people respect what he says. But if anything what he says was written by someone who has no followers, nobody would actually be interested in
mm,
that. And that's the definition of interesting versus not interesting content for me. Because if your content is actually interesting, it should be
mhm,
interesting regardless of the author, if you understand what I mean.
yeah,
So that's why it's more complicated than courses are good or bad, products are good or bad. I think we are in a era of attention, and I think the number one
mhm,
thing we all have to master is winning attention. And Peter Levels is not interesting, but his takes are important. That's why he's winning attention. He can say that I don't follow Dagobert. Nobody would care about that message coming from anyone, but we care because it came from him. Because it's not interesting message, right? It's a boring message. Like
yeah,
it's an old message, but he's a big guy and it's interesting from him. But for a regular guy, it makes more value to follow Dagobert than to follow Peter. Why? Because if you mimic what Peter does, being a small account,
mm,
you're gonna get zero value. You're gonna get zero reach from it. You'll actually get problems if you do that, because he
yeah,
has earned the right to say direct things, and Moss didn't earn that. And Moss will sound stupid when they say the same thing, but he sounds smart because he has earned it right. But Dagobert says funny things, sometimes interesting things, sometimes deep things, which are interesting, and anyone else could say that and it would be as interesting as him saying it. So you could learn something from him. That's that's my take on the whole debate.
mm. But why? Okay, Peter Levels isn't alone. A lot of people support him on this take. They don't like course makers, course boys, they call them. And why this happened? I can imagine, for example, year 2010, let's say, and software was way harder to create back then. Only huge companies could do that. And courses were hard to create as well. If you, for example, created a course, everybody would be, oh, wow, amazing. You made a course on how to bake cookies. Amazing. It's so unique. How did you do that? Where did you find the camera? How did you host it online? That's unique and hard to create, right? Then after time, like let's say 5, 10 years today, course is super easy to create. Everybody can do that. My mother can do that. And software is also simplified, but not as radically as courses. It still takes a lot of effort to build SaaS. You still need some fundamentals before you can talk to AI and generate some full stack application, but it still requires you to be a programmer. Courses are not like that. Everybody can do that. So it's not considered a real product. So what do you think will happen in the next 3 years, for example, when software is even more simplified because of the AI? What will happen? Courses and AI will be at the same position, and everybody on Twitter will be saying, "Ah, you made a SaaS. Everybody can do that. You're a SaaS boy.
Yes.
Make what? How to be a real maker in 3 years?
Yes, that's
Then
very good prediction you just made and pretty much true. So in the old days, SaaS was hard. Even building one without promoting was hard. So in 2010, if you built a software or 20, if you built software that does something useful, it was really easy to distribute. Like the first products I built, I didn't even think that distribution could be a problem because the problem didn't exist. If you have it and you know who
mhm.
needs it and you tell I have it, they say, "Wow, I take it," because otherwise there was nothing else for them to use to solve the same problem, right? But now every problem has 100 solutions. That's why you're going to be 100, and then you are not coming with a solution, you're coming with a better solution, and then you have to convince that it's a better solution. That's very difficult compared to saying there is solution and there is no solution otherwise. The reason people don't like course boys, one clear reason, it is because it looks like low effort, and very often people who make courses, they don't look like the people who deserve to make that money. So basically, people look at those people who make the courses and they don't see anything difficult that's been done by people, any risk taken by people, but they see that they have a course that has a lot of sales. They calculate the amount of money the guys are making and they feel like, whoa, these guys making 100K a month or whatever on this course. And I could have written this course too because I understand everything that's being said there, but they're not making. So it doesn't look fair. And that's why people hate them. People also hate people who have a lot of followers when they sell something
Mm,
because they think, whoa, you sold it because you have a lot of followers. Of course, it's
mm,
not fair. You have them, I don't have it. Well, why isn't it fair? Like, go back. The guy earned followers. Same for course people. There are like a lot of courses, and somebody who has sold the course or who has managed to sell the course has done very difficult job of distributing it, convincing people, and everything. So I think
mhm, that's it.
we are getting into the world where both the production of the course, the production of software, production of directory, production of service, everything like that will be equally not difficult. Because you say courses are easy, but because courses are easy to do, to make money out of the course, your course has to be way better than all the easy made courses. In 2010, uh, the average course quality was way lower than course quality now because now all the simple courses are just jang. And if you want to make good course, it has to be amazing. And it's very difficult to make amazing course too. It's like it's difficult to make anything that's good. Even the joke, like we can all can make jokes, but making great jokes is more difficult than making average jokes. So I think in 3 years from now, most software will be so easy to create. There will be boilerplate for every type of software, and we run out of the software types. We really run out. Like people think we create new software. We don't create new software. We actually clone it, right? Like for example,
Mhm,
all these the browsers, the PM software, the website builders, all those things, they're all the same. It's just slightly better. So at some point, we will be in a place where all this reach the peak and it can't be improved. And you can confirm that just by seeing current version versus the version 5 years ago. And you will see that it's the same. Like Gmail is the same today as it was 10 years ago. So the Gmail
mhm,
software cannot be improved. Something new may be created, but the incremental improvement has ended for almost all SaaS. And if we're in a world where you can't incrementally improve existing products in a serious way, you can improve slightly, like with the UX and things, but not seriously, then we will be in a place where uh, there will be commoditized and there will be white labeled solutions or open GitHub repos or boilerplates, which you can just take and add your flavor and add some extra things you think they got wrong. And that's just 1% of the work. And then you push it to the market. And now, are you a product maker? So, do you deserve respect? Do you deserve to be called product person, are you cool now? Are you better than the guy who made the course now? Because not necessarily, right? Not always. Sometimes some courses will require way more effort and talent than the products, very often. And in that world, we will eventually forget. It's like in music. Who cares about instruments? Like nobody cares about instruments anymore. Nobody cares who's playing the guitar in that song or piano. Like doesn't matter. It's not about that. And same here. So the whole focus will be shifted towards the attention and your thing being remarkably interesting. And that's where we're gonna be all competing. And I think Dagobert is maybe living in the future. So what he's doing now won't be something unusual in the future. That will be very common. If I was the one to recommend people to make bets on their skills, on the accounts they follow, I would rather say follow Dagobert versus a product guy, because what are you going to learn from product guy to build the products? Well, everybody knows how to build products, and soon
Hmm.
knowing how to build products isn't that important a skill, right? But if you follow Jason Levin, for example, the meme guy, like or
Yep.
Dagobert, like they are actually doing something very interesting, very unusual, very remarkable, and it is really hard to learn. And if you follow them, you will start absorbing their mind and understand like what are they thinking when they do this, and how can I think same way. And a
Hmm.
lot of people are gonna hate them. I tell you, there will be like huge hate coming from product builders towards people who are more on the attention space rather than on the building space, because they will think it's not fair. They will think these guys, like for example, now people like Dagobert can just white label a solution and bring it to the market and spend nearly zero time on building it and compete with someone else who has spent 3 years building the same thing. They will have practically the same product, right? But Dagobert might win just because he has way better skills on distributing the whole thing and winning the attention. And of course, the other guy gonna hate Dagobert because oh, it feels unfair. You've done all the work, and somebody else has done little work, but getting all the fruits. So I would rather be
But you'll still have, yeah, Dagobert is better at grabbing attention. That's for sure. But I can imagine a guy who spent 3 years making a Product Hunt clone, making it perfect. For example, you need that most popular Product Hunt clone. That guy spends a lot of time polishing the UI design, and I see that he loves that product, and I trust him way more than I trust the Dagobert's Product Hunt clone. Because as a product, that thing is way better than something that Dagobert will ship. Probably he will take some template or boilerplate and just kickstart it over weekend, because I don't believe that he can create such a huge project from scratch. It's not about Product Hunt is a clone is a bad example because it's about a community. But if Dagobert had chosen, for example, analytics tool or SaaS emailing tool, I would rather prefer to choose a tool which is built by a geek who is spending days polishing the thing, testing it, rather than just a guy with a mic who makes memes, and all he can do about his project is to ask the real developers to fix something or add something. He's not into that project. Will this still be a thing? Will it matter or not? I also suggest you to grab some water before you reply, because I can feel you are thirsty. And I can take this time to pee because I took a lot of caffeine. 1 minute. So, what do you think? A
yeah.
geek who spent years polishing a tool versus a marketer, meme crew who just kickstarted it over weekend and said, "Hey, use my SaaS analytics."
I think that's exactly how world functioned in 2018 and 2020, and that's not
Mhm.
how the world works now. And I saw this change. I saw the world the way you described, and that was exactly the truth. And I
Mm.
was witnessing how it was changing and how the consumer world has changed. Good example of that, very good example of that, is case with pure AI, the guys who made the news with forking continue. That's probably the best example I can give you that's almost taken from the future into the now. So I basically the guys have forked another project that's an ID with AI in it. Yeah, these two guys. And you're muted by the way. And a lot of people have criticized them. Yes. So people criticize them for not being the guys you just described, the guys who spent years building it and all that. So they just forked the thing and cut the whole journey from years to weeks. And they got into YC and they got into news and they went viral everywhere and they have everything they need from the audience perspective. Right. And a lot of people hate them. They got more hate than any founders in the last 5 years, probably. The last time I saw such big hate, it was maybe Adam Newman when he sold for a billion the WeWork, right? Or Bachman Fried. So this is the example how the future is going to look. Now it's slightly embarrassing what they've done. They had to apologize for that. But you know how the world works. Everything that's going to be the mainstream starts as being something non mainstream, slightly embarrassing, slightly strange. People oppose it, but it
Mhm.
happened. It worked. And they got everything they needed.
Okay, my question: would you use Pair AI, knowing that it was in
I,
just a fork of
I
something
think
else? It will be worse by.
that's a good question, but I think it's almost irrelevant because I am and you and me, we are the people of the past. So maybe we would not use it because we have learned that you should use stuff from people with, the way you described. But the new world, the new generation of people, they don't think this way. That's why they just don't give a
Mhm.
shit about them forking. They have they will be using Peer AI, and Peer AI will be successful, and it is already successful. It was taken into YC, and YC saw that these guys actually understand that it's all about distribution, less about the stuff, and you can reverse engineer the startups. So you can you can go backwards. You win the audience, then you build the stuff. So I think people will be fine to buy things from other people who don't put as much effort into it as they did in the past. I think it will be even the opposite. Still, people will be happily buying from founders who put more time into distribution and entertainment than into building the product. Because in reality, the products will be probably the same because it's a commodity. So both products will probably be very similar. They will be, it's not like one is better than the other just because one guy puts more passion into it. I think passion that doesn't translate into the quality of the product anymore because products are, we all know how the analytics tool works. Like, okay, we have plausible, it's great, but you can make plausible exactly same version, right? And then they'll be equally good. 10 years ago, you couldn't make equally good products because software was complicated and more bigger and difficult. But now we can make good stuff. So I think 3 years from now, we will be in a world where people will they will nearly forget that there was a time when we cared. Same as we forgot that there was a time when we cared about musical instruments and people who played the instruments. And the only thing we care in the music, we don't even care about the voices of the people who sing. We care about their persona, their drama, their story, the entertainment they create for us. That's what we care for. And I think products gonna enter exactly the same room. So now we use products to solve our pains. Soon there will be product for every pain, and new pains will not appear as fast as we wish. And I think we will be
Mhm.
just buying from someone who entertains us more. That's the future, I think. The founder who
Mm.
entertains their audience the best will be winning. By the way, Elon Musk might be one of the best examples. I mean, he has amazing products, but I think he's the best entertainer in the world when it comes to founders. just as Steve Jobs was. So I think people should understand that. And if they understand that, it's irrelevant. Are you making a course, a product, SaaS, service? It doesn't really matter as long as you entertain.
Okay, which advice would you give to the ones who just want to build, to geeks who enjoys coding? They don't want to become comedians. They don't want to make tweets, memes. They hate Twitter. I talked I think you talked even more to such people, and they're just builders. They like coding. What would you recommend to them? What do we do? You said you always say, "Hey, just become a good marketer," but they don't want to. They don't. You want to build. Is there a way? Is there a place for them in the future?
If we take the analogy back to music again, so there are people who really love playing guitar. They love it, and they just build up that craft, and are really good at that. But they don't like to promote the way they play somewhere. And the way they live their life is that they have their main job and the guitar is their hobby. So, with all seriousness, I want to say that people who just want to build stuff this as a hobby, they should not plan making money on this. They should not plan on using this as their revenue stream. They should build a revenue
Mhm.
stream from something else, like being employed somewhere, freelancing, anything. And this is just fun hobby because there's literally no chance you can make money that way. Of course, there are several guitar players who are big and they play and they publish on YouTube, but they are not gigs. If they do that, they're distributing. So you can't take them as
Mhm.
examples of gigs, right? Or they're examples of guys like Karpati, who is
Mhm.
who is considered to be a gig, who is just building stuff.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
he is not. He's writing tweets which are interesting. So people often think that people even think that Elon Musk is a geek. And they think, I'm like him, I just want to build stuff. If the person looks awkward, it doesn't mean the person is the geeked introvert. It's just the way a person looks. But anyone who has followers earned it by doing something on distribution. There is literally nobody who has done that just building something in the dark and somehow the world get to know about them. Even like again, people might say that he is the geek, but no, he became famous when he went to stages, he went to talks, he started writing, he started giving interviews, going to podcasts. He had the podcast with the Jason with Nvidia founder, which was really good. He talked really well. He talked really interesting. He was really entertaining. Right. So find even one example and you won't. That's why I think that's just unfortunately not real thing. Like if you're just in love with building and you don't like distribution and marketing and content and all that, then you will not never make money on that. You will never make money on that. That's why I'm not judging you. It's maybe fun, but make money somewhere else so that you are not broke.
That's literally what happens today. People have 9 to 5 job and they build for fun.
Yes, exactly.
It's
And a lot of people understand that. A lot of people understand that. Like, if you look what they say, I just saw the tweet today. It was Philip who makes Backlinko or Backlink something like that. He said that I
Mhm.
really love creating products. I enjoy it. I like it more than traveling. I like it more than anything else. I really enjoy it. Said, but
Mhm.
he makes money on his main job or on freelancing. So I think that's the way to go. But also, I think he may end up still entering the marketing space slowly, but he will, I think. That happens very often. Like, there is a road where you build stuff for years, for a decade in the dark, and then one day you start talking about things. And, I am probably an example. Like, I haven't made a single tweet until 2022.
Hmm?
So I've been building without marketing for many years. And the only reason I survived is that VCs were giving me money all the time and I could keep building stuff that nobody
Hmm.
was using. But I learned a lot and I had a lot to say when I started saying something. It's easier to talk about things when you have spent years building stuff. You have a lot of stories, you have a lot of lessons you learned. But again, I had funding. I sold my company, I had other company, I had VCs, so it was working for me. But I think people should be very careful on their revenues sources. Like making money by building stuff is nearly impossible. To make money, you have to distribute stuff. So distribution brings money. Writing code doesn't bring money in the entrepreneurial world. Like you can distribute something you haven't created. You can create it with AI, you can use no code, you can fork, you can buy, you can hire someone a lot of ways, right?
Okay, but we still need the people who will build the products for the influencers, boilerplates or some no-code solutions like you are doing. What about them?
I think a lot of it will be built by people who are employed because the requirements are so clear. And when they're clear, it's easy to employ people. I outsource, like purely outsource things. For example, I have products where I outsource to a guy who understands nothing about the product, understands nothing about the user, but I give the guy very clear instructions and then I iterate with him and the product turns out to be really good because I know what's needed to be done. So I think in this case, we will see probably there will be huge market for like not Upwork, but a market where you say, I need this product, and somebody comes in and nearly joins you as CTO for a while until the product is built and then leaves and you pay them. Like CTO on rent. I think there will be a huge market for it. Like technical co-founder for rent. I think even technical people will
Hmm.
get those co-founders. Like I can build stuff myself and I
Hmm.
build things myself sometimes. Like I built one product this weekend. But I think often you will go for this option. So that's why I don't say that influencers will go to AI and AI will just create some software. No, I think that still software will be created by people who know how it's being created, who can understand what's being created, who can evaluate things, etc. But your question was, what was my advice to people who just love building? And my advice is that make money something else, not from your products, because it will probably never happen that your products make enough money for you to quit your job. So don't quit your job or don't cut your revenue stream. Look at your products as hobby and enjoy that hobby.
I can imagine that the indie makers movement will be slowly repeating the steps which happened in the video game design industry. Video games are evolving way more faster than SaaS or apps building because game devs are crazier. They're dreamers and they don't care tech. We just want to get it to the final point
Yeah.
when their game is here. They don't fuck up with technologies. They just go. And today, the situation is that if you're a geek who is building your game, who is pursuing your dream, you have like 0.001% chance to be successful. And those people who got successful, they are super rare. They even made a documentary about this. It's called the Indie Game Development or something. It's from 2016. A documentary about indie game developers. For example, one guy who made a famous game named Meat Boy. He spent like 3 or something years sitting in the basement, literally in a room at their parents' house. He was building all day, all night. He was eating pizza, not hitting the gym. I'm not judging. I do. Finally, he released his game. He had no marketing budget because he had no money, and it just skyrocketed magically. Somehow, well, it was viral, and he became a millionaire, superstar, famous guy. He then created more games, and all of them were successful because of that first game, Meat Boy, which was the big success. I can imagine indie makers following the same steps. I don't agree that it's a good idea to forget this dream of becoming a millionaire overnight because it's a part of the game. You're still making this for years, but you have that little hope inside your mind that this new tool can skyrocket. It potentially can. It has little chances, but it's still possible, right? When you gamble, you don't gamble if you don't have a chance, even 1%. You
Yeah.
still have a little chance to win. And there will be the same thing. The chance of being successful without being a marketer will dramatically decrease, but there will still some stars, some use cases where you build your SaaS finally released and it goes viral on media, on Reddit. There will be such cases, but there will be super rare, like once per 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's an open question. What's the meaning of life for founders? If it's the success itself or it's the path, and if it's the path, then it's fine to walk the path that has 99% chance of failure. Even and maybe it's even better to not think about that, and maybe it's better to think that you will not fail, you will succeed, and probably your journey will be fun. But I have so many people in my DMs. Like the most popular DM I get is people who quit their jobs to start SaaS. They sent me their link to their SaaS,
Oh,
and
wow.
they say, like, that happens literally 10 times a day at least. At least. Sometimes it's like 20, or when
Ooh.
there's like viral posts, I have 50 or 100 like that messages. And they,
Oh,
like, you
wow.
never hear them because they are so muted that you will never even hear their stories. Like everything you see on
Yeah.
Twitter is by default from people who managed to grab your attention, right? So it's the people
Yeah.
who can market. Right? And if you look at their profile, it's very same profile. You open their profile, they have no followers, they have no content that's interesting, and they have spent a year building something. They either quit their job and they're living on their savings, or they almost quit their job and they're still kind of using some of their savings. And they send it to me and they think that if I repost it, suddenly everything will be
Mm.
solved and their product will get the users and they will be able to feed their family. And some of them are young, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. This dude is young. He lives with parents, and who cares? But some of them have their own children. They have the bills to pay, and I feel so
Yeah.
bad. I feel so bad when I understand that the only thing I can tell this guy is that he is as far from being successful founder as he was before he written the first line of code. Like the path then gets shorter because everything he has done wasn't bringing him closer. And everything he has to do is so difficult, and he is just starting today. So he's just starting. He thinks that he has been doing it for a long while,
Mm.
but I have to tell him that you are it's your day number one today. If you realize that and you start working on attention marketing and all those things. So that's why I'm always being very careful on the harm of the romantic movement. I think we should clearly communicate both, and I think people will pick what's for them. I think the people who are the dreamers, the people who are foolish and hungry, usually they don't have families, usually they're young, and usually you can't stop them, whatever you do. I don't think they need a lot of push. I think they are the people who look for information of their bias. They will find the
Mhm.
stories of successful young dudes making millions from the basement. They will find those stories, they will read them, they will get pumped, and they will do it. Right. But we have to be careful that those stories don't look like the cases which are guaranteed, and people who are more kind of regular and they have more responsibilities in life, they go for it. It's same like crypto world. Crypto world has destroyed a lot of the people, a lot of the families. I know
Oh,
personally a
yeah.
lot of families destroyed by it completely destroyed. They lost all their money. The guy went and bought all the shit coins, and then they all collapsed. And then they have no house. They're renting now. I have friends like, and these friends are the dudes who could also read the story about guy building millions from the basement and think that he has to do the same and build a startup. And everything he has to do is to build the startup. So that's why I'm being really boring on this topic. I see it very
Mhm,
often being
mhm.
discussed, and I feel like I'm like a grandpa. I'm always slightly pessimistic while everybody is so optimistic because I know more people than other people know. I have like that's my hobby, to know people and to know what's happening in their lives and to track their
Mhm.
lives. And I know so many bad endings. That's why I'm trying to uh, de-romanticize startups. I'm trying to promote the idea that building $1 million startup should be just off the table completely. Be,
So what did that guy said to you when you said it's your first day today? What was his reaction?
well, he said maybe I can pay you for ads. So the reason he
Oh,
came, he wanted
wow.
to pay for my ads, and I said no, I don't want to take your money for ads because ads won't change anything for you. They will bring some traffic, but it is not what you need. You need 100 things. And I told him, like, here are 20 tweets I made about distribution, marketing, SEO, and all those things. And you have to spend all your time learning and trying and growing, but don't expect any quick results. When I
Mhm.
say in my tweet that it took me 3 months to do that and this, you have taken into account that it took me 20 years to create the intuition and my taste and everything, and you'll have to spend years
Mhm.
too on that. And they say thank you, thank you. It's very useful. They feel like they learned a lot, but I don't think that will change their life really because they will go back to social media and everything they will see in their feeds will be not what I said, but it will be the opposite, and then they'll just forget.
Yeah, if I heard something like that 8 years ago when I started, I wouldn't listen to. That destroys my motivation. Why to listen that? I need something cheering up, not something that makes me depressed and
Yeah,
willing to find a job. What?
exactly.
How do you plan to compete? Because this content isn't welcome.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to do it differently. So I don't think trying to win on information is a good approach because I will always lose because my message is so depressing and nobody wants to even hear it, right? But at the same
Mhm,
time, I want to show by example. So I want to help people to build small things where by default, like, why do I push so much the directories? It's not like I'm in love with directories. It's just because directories are the best example where the tech part is so little that you have no choice but go and distribute it. Of course, some people figure out how to spend month on actually coding directories and procrastinating with that stuff, but at least things I promote and people who hear from me, they build them quickly and then they are left with only one thing to do, to distribute them, to promote them. And some of them are doing well and more of them will be doing well. And eventually, I think people will be willing to hear a new message when the new message isn't like, you won't succeed, don't even try. That's terrible message. That's my message, but it's terrible message. And the
mhm.
better message is to say, try something that's realistic and doable. And you don't have to be one in million to succeed with it. Right? So we all try to ride a bike, but not everybody tries to jump from building to the building because not everyone can jump
Yeah.
from building to the building, but everyone can ride a bike, but it's difficult at the beginning. So I think uh, that's a healthy way of building startups, starting with something that you can actually do and where you can get somewhere, and it costs little resources, little money, so you can work on your main job, make money, and this is your first endeavor. And if it works, if it
Mm.
doesn't work, you know that you shouldn't try anything next. Like if you can't make successful directory, there is literally zero chance you can make anything successful. Like I will bet all my money on that. That a person who can't make successful directory cannot make anything else that's successful because everything else is more difficult, right? So how can you make it? And it's a good test for people. You will see whether you're capable, and it's good to be
Hmm.
realistic and check what you're capable of. And if you are, if you
Hmm.
made one that's successful, then it's interesting. Then maybe you should take more risks. Then maybe you should even quit your job. Like, then the whole story is different, really. And maybe that director
Hmm.
will give you some money to pay the bills while you're taking bigger risks, right?
Hmm.
So I think
Hmm. Mhm.
taking the whole founder journey and the whole life with the strategy in hands is the way to go. And I really dislike the how popular it is to have no plan, because what happens if you have no plan is that you end up burning all your wings in 100 out of 101 cases, and it means you will there are a lot of other problems coming. Like I care a lot about people not having children, for example, and this is one of the reasons why that happens too. Like people, the
Hmm.
founders, they rarely have children. Why? Because they are broke and they don't make money, and they hope that just in a year I will be profitable and I will, get married and get kids and everything. And it never happens, and then they're too old. So I think people have to approach life with a plan and take things step by step. And the best way to start easy and see whether you have either your skills or talent or passion, or even if you like it. Because most founders don't even like being founder.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, if you like being a founder, you do it all the time. Yeah, people have to stop you from doing it, right? And I know
Mhm.
people personally who are happy to, end the workday and happy for holidays and happy for not working. That's not
Oh.
founder mindset. That's employee mindset. So you don't like to be a founder. You will never succeed
Hmm.
if you're like that. And they're not succeeding.
I think there is no conflict here. It's just different audience. For example, you open a gym, an athlete academy, and there will be two classes. First, for young people. Since they're young, they recover quickly, and if they break their legs, they can recover in a week and go train again. They train hard every weekday, maybe even on weekends, and it's super hard training. But there are second class for people who are over 30, who can't allow themselves to break a leg because it will heal for a whole year. But they still want to be athletes. So you create a plan, as you said, start with a plan. You create a plan detailed with them. You start slowly. You start with something basic, something simple, and step by step you become an athlete. Not in 2 years maybe, like that young guy, but in 5 years or so. And if you come to that class, you have to be prepared that it's a long path, that you're not young anymore, and it will take you a lot of effort. Same here. If you're a young maker, go to the Twitter feed, be inspired by those crazy stories of overnight success, go fast, break things, be hungry, it's not a problem. It's just a different audience, young people. If you're over 25 or 30, you have dependents, you have wife which is nagging you, where is my money? Why don't you make money? If you have kids, you have to be more strategic, more careful. This is where you come, John, and you listen to John, not to the feed. John has a plan for you. It's a step by step plan. It gives you way more chances to become successful, but it takes more time. So there's no conflict here, no?
No,
No?
there is no conflict. Both parties promote their agenda, and people will end up hearing both. My concern is that there are very few who promote the downsides and the realism. And I think the reason there are very few who promote it is because most people judge the world based on their own experience. So, well, when
Mhm.
you judge the world, you say, I wouldn't want to hear that because that would demoralize it. And I would never be foolish enough to work for years on a unicorn platform and make it successful. And you are right.
Mhm.
But I think the problem is that the whole Twitter feed is made by successful people. Like that's the fundamental problem of the feed, that it comes from successful people.
Yeah.
It means that it comes from survival, in people who survived. And the world they live in is not a real world. It's the world of survival, or of survived people. So I think what I'm trying to do, so I'm also like that. I think have developed this ability to enter other people's shoes. I don't know how I did it, but I've been doing that all my life.
Mhm.
And that's why I can sometimes tell some things which are being told not by me as successful founder, but by me as non-successful founder.
Okay.
I put that skin on myself, that second spirit. And my
Mhm.
message goes into your feed because I am successful in first place,
Mhm.
because that's how I appeared in your feed. But the ratio of that feed is that most people aren't talking about that. So most are talking about how it all made them successful. You know?
Yeah.
Everything that's being done now is fine. Look at me, I'm successful, then everything is right. I think my goal is to communicate this message so well that alternatives are very clear, and things I'm talking about are visible for every new founder entering the scene. Because you say that for
Mm.
young people it's not important. No, it's as important, even more important for young people. Older people, they're usually also smarter and they're more careful. But if young person doesn't plan life, and young person goes into founder mode for the next 10 years and never makes it, and that's their destiny. Most of them will never make it. And they're now 30. And if that's a woman, then it's very difficult to make a family and have kids, even for the guy, right? And a better way for a guy would be to start the whole thing in a way that, all right, I know I'm 18. I know it will take me 10 years to get somewhere. And by somewhere, I mean, I will understand whether I can do that or not. Maybe it will take me 10 years to figure out that I can't be a founder who makes money on their startups. And if that happens, I have to be prepared. So I have to have revenue stream from something else that's stable, that's not connected to my risks. And if I have that revenue stream, then by the age of 24, I can afford a girlfriend. By the age of 27, I will be married and maybe I will plan kids. But if you don't do that, then you will always think it's just 1 year left. After 1 year, I will succeed. And suddenly you're 35 and
Mm.
you either don't have family or you have family, but you don't have kids. And that's the typical story. And we get into the world where, these bright people end up not making babies. And then who's making babies then?
Here we stop this conversation because you don't want to be banned. Okay, thank you for caring for the future generation. That was enough of lecture about this topic. Let's go to the next tech drama. Which one would you choose?
I think we covered three dramas in one talk now. There's only one left, which is also interesting: Vercel versus
Oh, yeah,
Cloudflare.
Vercel. We're not sponsored by Vercel, by the way, even though they mention it in every episode
Yeah.
yet. So, Vercel, you said that Vercel says Cloudflare is a monopoly and it's dangerous, while suggesting that Vercel will be a good monopoly. What was it about? I missed that one. Can you tell us the story?
uh, well, Cloudflare launched new things which are not just about CDNs anymore, but now they have containers. Now they have
Oh, yeah.
basically they're heading towards become full alternative to Vercel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the reason why Vercel started talking about it. Maybe it was not, but that's what the world thinks. So then Vercel made a statement that it's very dangerous when one player controls proxies the whole world traffic, and it's a road to a monopoly that's dangerous, etc. But then, without even asking, it's obvious that that's exactly the dream of Vercel. That's written on their board. If I was running Vercel, that would be my dream too. Like, nothing to shame
Mhm.
them with. It is the dream of every corporation. You have to be a monopoly, and even if you don't become, you have to try, because
Mhm.
non-monopolies are always losing. Monopolies are winning. That's the law of the capitalism. So I think
Mhm.
from that point, Vercel is. If I was running Vercel, I would be careful on actually understanding that people understand my motives, and people see that we have a lot of money and we're doing certain things and we're trying to win all attention. We hire all the influencers and we're trying to become a monopoly. It's clear to everyone. It is literally clear to everyone. And that's why you should be careful criticizing a monopoly when you are yourself trying to be a monopoly. Again, I don't criticize Cloudflare or Vercel. Smart. I want to do the same. I want to be a monopoly too. It's just like, that's why I don't criticize them, because I want to be like them too. So that was where it started. But then, of course, it continued with the next drama, which is a recurring drama, recurring weekly drama. Every week, there is a guy who goes viral for saying that suddenly he has to pay a huge bill to Vercel. That, like, every single week, if you want to go viral, you have to. I think people do it in purpose now. I think people do some strange code so that they get 10K bill just to get, because it's a good investment. You have 10K bill, but you get 1 million views on your tweet. Very good. Maybe uh, it's just genius marketing. And the whole topic goes around Vercel is free, but then it costs a lot. And Vercel puts you into their system and then locks you in there. You can't leave. I think this whole claim is totally bad. It's a wrong claim. So Vercel does something that every good company in the world does. So they have a freemium model where they give you stuff for free, they pay for it, you promote that product for them, they get the value back, and if you suddenly become a huge success, you'll be paying them a lot, and that's how they will make money. And that's the model of every good business. And there is no contract, there is no lock in. Anyone can move from Vercel away any day, any moment, any second. Nobody holds them with handcuffs. So I think it is over dramatizing. I think the other thing that people say, that you should start with your own servers first, people say. And it became so popular very quickly. And I want to say something that will probably trigger some people, but I think the reason it's so popular now to put your own servers is that founders will do everything they can to postpone the real job. Everything. And that's why it's so easy to go, to get likes on this own servers for $5. Vercel is free. It's zero. And then somebody says it's zero, while it's just before this call, a guy was there was a discussion about Clerk, and guy was saying
Okay.
Clerk cost a lot when you have more than 10,000 users. And I'm like, really? You think you're gonna have more than 10,000 users? Like, even I don't think I will have 10,000 users on any of my products. That's why I just don't care. And if I have, that's a good problem to have. Right? So I think it is just, everybody understands this. People who understand, they understand. And they just smile.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
smile at this. But then there's a huge group of inexperienced founders, or founders who just do it as a hobby. And I think they confuse other people. Like, again, I'm fine with founders doing the whole thing as a hobby. They love these servers, they love code, they love all the difficult stuff, and they are proud of them solving it. And you are a loser. You're going for Vercel. You don't even know how to use a server. You don't know Linux. Are you even a real product maker? Like, and then DHH comes to the stage, the guy from 37, and he says,
Yeah.
if you, if you can't put a server, and if you're afraid of the servers, like what are you even doing here? Like, come on. That's exactly what I would do if my goal was to remove competition on the market and help everyone fail. So if somebody
Mm.
asked me, please help me to fail, I would tell him, uh, deploy your own servers, avoid paying $5 a month for something, and spend a day to set it up yourself, and then another week to fix problems that come with it. You always think there will be no problems. Running your own server, like, how come anyone can really think that running your own server can be easy? All right, it takes 5 minutes to set it up, but there are a lot of other things to do. A lot of things to do.
Yeah,
I
it's
run
super
my
hard.
servers. I hate that. If
No.
I could pay, like, you know that too, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, and people say, I have the server, it's running, everything is fine. Of course, you have 3 users there in a month. Of course, everything is fine. You wouldn't even know if your server was down because nobody would tell you. Right? But if that's the case, then Vercel would work for you too. But if you have users, then your server will be failing all because there's traffic, there's some things, there's DDoS, there are all those things. So I think it's very connected.
Mhm.
For some reason, all these topics we discussed today are very connected. And I would call this
Yeah.
whole debate like, are you building,
How to fail.
uh, or you have to choose, are you building a business or it's just you having fun with your hobby? And then all the answers are different.
Why is it so unclear? When I started playing the piano, it was super obvious for me that it will be just a hobby. I don't have a dream of being a top piano player. Why everybody in the makers community have that dream of becoming a millionaire, while the absolute majority of the makers will fail because of the how making world works? Why is it so hard to differentiate a hobby from a real
I
ambition?
think it happens for one simple reason. People use software and they see that they could build this software too. And then they think that they
Okay.
could have the success too. That's the reason. So when you see, let's say, someone singing on a stage and you don't have the same voice or ability to sing, you don't really think you could be singing on that stage too. When you see a football player playing for Real Madrid and you
Mm.
understand that you are just nowhere with their speed and preciseness, right? So that's why you have no illusion. People who go and
Mm.
play football, they have no illusions. They're not betting their whole life on becoming pro. But in software world, every single developer who knows how to write code truly thinks that it is not fair that it's not his product that's successful. Like, this guy is making a million or sold this thing for 1 billion. I could have written that in a weekend. That's what he thinks.
Mm.
And that's why he goes and tries to write something and he thinks that uh, he will succeed too.
So he tries and tries over years,
Yeah,
like
because he
it
thinks
doesn't
that the
happen, but he
reason
tries
the
again.
product is successful, he thinks is the product. He doesn't understand that the product has nothing to do with success. Like, the code
Okay,
product,
but then you try. You have the actual product. You code it for a weekend, for example, but you still need some time. You code it for another week, then you took another month, then a year, and still nothing happened. Then what? The illusion is still here? Why?
then things get even worse. Then you think that before you thought that, oh, now I could have built that in a weekend, so I should, and then I will be successful. And then you do it and you're not successful. And then you say, well, the world is not fair. This guy is having
Oh wow.
more users because he has whatever, he has more followers, he has more funding, he has anything. So he will, like, people will never attribute failure to the reality. They will think that it is just unlucky. He's just unlucky for some reason. And then they become bitter and they start playing against themselves even more and they start hating everything even more. And that's why, like, the typical hater on founder Twitter is a software developer who is a CTO somewhere and who is trying to build a product. They go to my tweets and find all hateful tweets, hover the profile, and you will see it's 100% match. It's always like that. is because the person
Mm.
is really good at programming, and person thinks that just because he's good at programming, he deserves to be as successful as anyone who launched software product.
So this illusion will disappear in a few years when everybody will be able to create software.
Yeah, I hope so. I really look forward for that, and it is happening now. So I've been telling that for 10 years, right? And people are laughing, and now finally, not everybody thinks I'm saying wrong thing. A lot of people think I'm right, but still not many.
Mm.
I think in 3 years it'll be so clear. It'll be completely clear because we will see that most successful products will not be built by senior developers and CTOs, but they will be built by people who either learned coding while doing it or they just knew it before, but not on
Yeah.
any serious level. I'm sure that that's like this guy again. We come back to him often, Jason Levin. He's the example. He
Okay.
and he will succeed. He's successful now with his product. He's having a lot of sales. His good product. The way he does the UX, everything great. And when there will be many of people like him, then people who are CTO level, they will sit down and think, well, it seems like my skills and the things I know and I'm proud of have no connection with successful business. They're great
Mhm.
to have successful employment, but business, software business is a different thing. And what I know doesn't bring any value. That's my hope. The reality is that they will never say that. They will just keep hating everyone forever. But then they get older. They, eventually go out of the workforce, and then the younger people.
They go.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to say they die because
They go to Reddit.
maybe, yeah, Reddit has a lot of people like that. But look at young people. Young people are different. Like if you see guys who are 20 years old and who are coders, I'm happy that they don't think that. I'm happy that they understand. And I see very few young programmers who think that their programming skill is their key skill and that's the world works that way. So that's positive.
Mm.
And I think like my work and work of others is helping on it. So that's why I think there's nothing bad or difficult. I think we're heading towards the world where this will be clear more and more, and eventually it'll be resolved. So we are in transition moment. We're transitioning from one world to the other world, from the world where the code was scarce to the world where the entertainment is scarce.
Okay, maybe we should pay more attention to that point, how to be interesting, how to make memes,
Yeah.
viral content, how to I actually wanted to offer you this one today, how to do X, how to dominate X basically. You know it? You spent the whole day on X. I'm super surprised seeing you replying dozens of
I
times per
replied to
hour.
every single message and reply I ever received. So I made
This crazy.
40K
Just
or
look at this,
60K
guys. 1 second.
replies.
Ho- You basically all you do is tweeting, right? It's your main job.
No,
You do
no.
tweets. It looks like that.
It's difficult to explain how many replies I made. It shows sometimes
Yeah, I'm
somewhere.
counting.
No, but there's the count. I think if you open it in incognito, it will show the number, or they hide it
Okay.
now. They had it in the past, but it's many. It's crazy many. No, they had it, but they removed. I think it's like 60 or seventy
Okay.
k. So the way I work
What?
is very simple. I have X on one screen. No, not just X. I have X, LinkedIn, and Substack. I'm very active there too, by the
Okay.
way, and it's growing.
Let
Uh,
me simulate.
like they're growing as fast as X. S-
Okay, we will talk about Substack maybe on the next
LinkedIn
episode. Let's
is
focus on one thing today.
yeah. I had over 1 million views on LinkedIn in last 30 days. Substack had also a lot.
Okay. I have them all. What do I do?
So I keep them all open in the notification tab where you have to reply to things. And on the other screen, I have my work, like my Discord, my no code app, my VS Code, like Mars XID. like all the things I work with. And basically,
Okay.
I work the real work, and every moment I have to wait. Like, let's say I send a message in the chat in the Discord, and it takes people
Uh,
uh, like 10, 20 seconds, 100 seconds to reply. And while they are writing
mm,
their reply, I reply on X or LinkedIn or Substack to the comments as much as I can. Then I
okay.
turn back, I write code, then I hit
Okay.
publish, and there's little moment I have to wait for something, or I ask ChatGPT something, and it prints the answers. Then I turn back
Yeah.
to Twitter and I reply again. So basically, I don't stay in Twitter. I work and I fill all the gaps of my work with Twitter replies and Twitter feeds.
Shit.
So basically, when I work, there is not a single second when I'm not doing something. So if you look at the way I work, basically I'm always typing from the first minute of my workday to the last minute of my workday. I'm typing nonstop. Either I'm
Mhm.
typing the work, like code or something like that, or I'm typing, replying, or writing the tweets. That's why, because I can switch the context with no problem, like it's really easy for me to switch the context. It's not even switching, I have them both at the same time, basically. So in the past, it was more difficult for me to answer the reply. I had to really think. But now, when I've done that so many times, I don't even remember that I answered. Like when I read my replies, that's funny. When I read
Mhm.
them, I don't recognize them very often because
Oh,
they
wow.
didn't enter my memory. It's almost like muscle memory. So it is part of my brain does it. I don't effort and it just happens. But it's very good replies. So I don't reply with like bullshit. So they're good. Sometimes I have to stop and think when something is definite and I don't have an answer for it. So that's why it works pretty fine. I don't have to have special Windows for it because when I tried Windows, it didn't work for me. Why? Because after
Okay.
that window, nothing else is interesting. You spend an hour in X and then you start doing other things and it's so boring.
Mm.
That's why it's better to mix. So it's almost like you're doing the boring or hard thing and you're having a nice thing in the parallel, like listening music while you run, right? It's easier to run when you listen to music. Same here. By the way, I also have music on. So I have music, X, and all this. But music without words. Never put words into music because then you may reply with random like some I did that and I had replies with just there were words inserted in my replies from the song. I didn't notice it. It was so stupid. It felt like stupid completely. I thought people thought I'm AI or something, but it's never AI. I always reply and write myself. Never use AI for it. But I have two screens. Do you have two screens?
Yeah.
Yeah, try that. So one screen, and
I practiced that a lot when you wait for ChatGPT to generate you the
yeah,
code to copy paste. I opened Twitter instantly and replied or liked. But I don't like it because my head gets overheated.
yeah,
So it's not
e-
for
e-
everybody.
exactly, exactly. So for me, it's the opposite. I'm like, I need a lot of weight on my brain, and if it's not a lot, then I want to do something else. So I want to fill it with something. That's why I fill it with this and with other things.
Hmm.
Maybe you can develop that too, but I was like that all my life. So maybe that's like a genetics. I guess it is because when I was a kid,
Okay.
I was like that too. Maybe you should use your own method, the one you tried now. But also, I don't browse Twitter as much, by the way. Very little.
You mean the feed?
Yeah. So I'm in replies, and the funny thing is that people mention me everywhere, and that's why if there's something I should read, if there's drama, people mention me. So this week, all the dramas they just mentioned, and I get it. So I spend maybe 1% of my time on the feed and 99% on the notifications tab. And it's better
Mhm.
because it ends sometimes. Sometimes I reply to everything for
Okay,
for a
but
moment.
you have a huge followers count. Not everybody have that. What do on average indie maker do? We don't have
When
notifications.
I was
Hundreds of them.
having less followers, what did I do? I think I did the same, but I did more off the feed. I was spending a lot of time in the feed, and I was spending doing a lot of replies. I think I was replying to other people tweets a lot, like 20, 50, 100 times a day. I never do that now.
Okay, Dagobert's course, How to Dominate Twitter, also recommended to start with replies. But regularly checked Twitter feed, and I see people with like, I saw once, I swear, 26 followers. That guy had 26 followers, not 1,000, just 26. And he had 10,000 views, and I had him in my feed. I didn't know that person, I didn't follow him, but I had him
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
feed. So maybe it's a good idea to forget about replies at all
exactly.
for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, the new social media has simplified a lot. So if I was making a dominate Twitter course 2 years ago
Okay.
or now, so 2 years ago it would be 100 pages. Now it would be half of the page. So
Oh, really?
yeah, because the only thing you have to do now to grow on Twitter is give people something they want in the feed. The
How
only
do you do
rule.
that?
You have
Okay.
to know what people want. So for example, that's why like it is not as easy.
Okay.
People want different things at different days. So one day they want drama, but the other day they don't want drama. One day they want education, other day they don't want. One day they want to hear about AI changing the world, the other day they don't want. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on other news, trends, hype, stories, etc. For example, if like some weeks people are more optimistic about the future, and they're all having these thoughts in their heads like, wow, crazy, the future is going to be amazing. And if you tweet something that validates that,
Hmm.
like let's say your tweet says, holy shit, I created this app with AI, in that particular week or a day you will go viral, but you won't go viral any other day with the same exact content. Or for example, if one day was very dramatic and everybody fights and everybody hates each other and there's fire and flames, that
Okay.
day you have to bring more flames and you have to go and shit on someone or criticize someone or expose someone or hate someone, and then you will go viral
Mhm.
because people are, they want more of that thing at that day or even at that
Mhm.
hour. So that's why it's in the new Twitter is so relevant that if there is little spark of certain interest in an hour or a day, then Twitter feed tries to find everything else that's relevant around this and shows to people. So that's why your content has to be always based on what people want to hear today. What's their mood today? Do they want to hear an inspiring story about you fixing problems, or again inspiring story of you failing, or you uh, being depressed, etc. And if you do that,
But
it doesn't matter how many followers.
that's just only one way to do that. I don't have to always try to listen to the crowds and follow what they want to hear. I can write a story about failure or a success story. It will be welcome any time of a day, any time of a year.
No,
So it's
if
not a
you if you
mandatory,
have
right? It's just one way.
if you have 100 followers and you make an amazing story that's not relevant today because the crowd isn't in the mood for that story, it will just fail. I tried that.
Okay.
I tried once to repost my stories from the last year, which went viral, and it didn't go viral. And I was like, what the fuck?
No
What
one.
happened? And I just scheduled them because you can do long scheduling now. And it all failed. And I was like, shit. And then I realized that, all right, I have to actually enter the day, leave the day, live it true, fill it, and see which of my hundreds or 500 stories is relevant for this day. And I do that now. And then I bring that story
Mhm.
and it explodes. So
What is relevant now? For example, I am listening to this podcast. I am your listener. I know what's going on Twitter. Not exactly, but I have an image of that. Can you please make it clear so I make a viral post today after listening to this episode? What's
I
going on
haven't been
today?
on Twitter, so I have to go there and see. I don't know. For example,
How do you do that?
so
Just
I open the feed and I
mm,
scroll and I get the glance
okay.
on what's no. It's important to scroll and look at the uh, views. So the way I see the feed,
Oh,
it's very funny. So I don't look at the tweets. I look at the
what's
view icon. So I literally look at the icon with views on the tweets, and I stop scrolling when I see 100K views or a million views on something. And then I look at the tweet and I say, oh, okay, this is the tweet. So basically, if there was a way to sort them by the views, I would be so happy. Somebody has to make a tool for that. So I find 20 viral tweets today. I see their topics. I see what people say in their replies. What's their mood? How they replied? Are they positive? Are they negative about that? And then I understand what can I throw on the fire that will burn with good flames based on that. But I don't throw things I don't want to post. So I always tweet things I want to tweet. So I have these notes with all my tweets. It's huge. I have like at least 1K tweets there now waiting to be tweeted. And then I look at my notes and I look at what's hot today and what people want to hear more. And I pick the tweet from my list that suits this the best. I bring it here, I rewrite it because now I understand more what's hot, what's needed. So I change it slightly so that it's even more relevant to the whole, fire happening today on Twitter. And it goes viral every single time. It's I I haven't had non-viral tweet for a long time. It's only non-viral when I promote something, but I know it will be non-viral because I just promote something, a link or something. But everything else went 100K plus following that play. So that's why it's very simple, but very hard to execute. The hard part is that you have to actually be able to say that this is what's hot. You have to scroll and you have to say that I think this is hot today. That's why my recaps are so viral because I managed to sort all the tweets of the week to pick the top 12, right? So you skip and
that's
you,
funny.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't see any
It,
viral tweet in my feed.
it's not easy.
Why?
You have to scroll for a while. That's how the feed works. It tries to show you fresh stuff before it's too big, and then there is not so much viral stuff.
Okay, is this one viral? A tweet by Mark Liu, the famous maker. It has
Exactly.
250K. Is it viral? Okay. So
It's slightly old,
so
so it was viral October 5th. So if on October 5th
okay.
you came here with the
Mhm,
story
mhm.
of you failing 29 times but never giving up, you would go viral too.
Okay,
Because
so
everyone who liked the story, he would be offered or she would be offered your story next in the feed because it is similar.
okay, this 1 million views, it was posted yesterday. Is it fresh? Can I inspire by this?
What does it say? Which one?
That's it. What do you do with people? Uh, this green one.
Oh shit.
What do you do with people visibly abusing your free tier? A maker complains about free tier
Yeah.
signups which polluted his database,
Interesting. I,
and
I
he
saw
brought.
this tweet. It's crazy. Million views. You have to go into the replies and see what's the vibe, like what
Okay.
exactly is happening. Because like, are people
Reaction.
hating
Okay.
them or is it the opposite?
Some advices, recommendation of clerk,
Yeah.
technical
So
advices. Your
basically,
problem is not.
best way to go viral now is to go out and tell how you do out in your app so that you never get this problem. You will go viral if you do that. Like if you like, so you can even quote this tweet, but you don't have to. But if you just basically there's an opinion and you have to give your opinion, that will be interesting and people go and engage
Mm.
there too. But you have to capture the crowd from this tweet. So even this tweet, everybody would be saying something about that they also have the same
Mm.
problem, like I had. Then you could make exactly the same tweet saying that you have this problem, but you have to, if it's the same, it's boring. You have to be longer or more interesting or from other perspective. It will work.
Should I inspire by the quote retweets of others? Or
Yeah, I do that if you find one that's viral too. But now you see they're all boring. That's why they're viral.
yeah.
His tweet was like short and yeah, he sparked interesting things.
I think the key success of this tweet, once again, it's a tweet of a guy who complains about free tier users abusing his service. I think the key of being viral here is that it's easy to reply with an advice.
Yeah, yeah,
You can say a
exactly.
hundred of reasons how he did it wrong to look smart.
Yeah,
So
because everyone had
should I use
this.
that
Yeah,
opinion how
I
to do it, make it
mean,
work?
you've done that once with GitHub thing where you said that you pretended that you figured out something new and everybody came there and said, "I knew that all this time. You just figured that out today." And that was
I actually figured it out a day before.
yeah,
That
yeah.
guy from Indie Makers Village told me it was new to
Yeah,
me.
exactly. But, you know, I made this tweet yesterday
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
said that
Agree.
OpenAI raised 66 billion, not 6.6. I made a mistake. I saw it. I didn't correct it. Why?
Ah,
Because I knew that there will be at least 20 people coming into reply saying it's not 66, it's 6.6.
oh really? I just read it and I thought that it's 66. I never dig into replies.
I didn't do it in purpose, but when I saw I made a mistake, I thought, okay, I will leave it because I know people will, uh, there will be an extra replies because of that, right? So sometimes you can engineer a tweet to manipulate
Okay.
people, right? You can manipulate the hate of two groups, or you can manipulate the ego that people want to look smart and they will all jump in and give you advice on something. For example, you can say that I'm uh, I'm using this analytics tool and it's so expensive, and you show your bill which is $900, and then
Mm,
you're gonna get 500 replies saying that just use this. This is just this. This is just this. This is free. This is
mm,
free, or just $9. So it'll be a lot of replies because people think that you really don't know and you really need that. I don't do that, but people do that. Like
mhm.
people who work with engineering the attention, they think this way. Like, how can I trigger people to, show their expertise, show their things they know, or confirm something. Like for example, sometimes like
Mhm.
Dagobert did that. His memes were confirmation memes. He would he would
Mm,
make jokes about some things we all know, but it's tough. Like a maker who has been building and never made a tweet about it and expecting users, and then people will come there and say, "Yeah, shit, true, literally me."
I did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of ways to
Okay.
win engagement, a lot of ways. But I think those ways are very easy for you and me and people who are really high on empathy, and they can easily understand what any of their action will mean
Yeah.
in the brains of others. But if you imitate that, it will look terrible.
Mhm.
That's why I never recommend
Oh
that.
yeah.
Like I see people trying to copy these methods and it just
Yeah.
looks awkward. It works sometimes, but it looks
Yeah. I want our listeners to finally, after they listen to this podcast episode, they go to Twitter and they make their first viral tweet, not 1 million views, okay, 10,000 at least. Is it possible for you to give the exact steps?
yes,
What do you do? The
yes.
research, prepare. Okay, it will not take you 5 minutes, it will take you maybe a couple of hours of research, scrolling the feed, looking for
Yeah.
other replies of others to make your own one. Can you give us these exact steps how to do that? Because I don't know, really. I have to admit, I don't know. I just make it. It pops out of my head, so I can't teach it. Maybe you can.
I try to reverse engineer the way I do it, and it is basically you
Mhm.
have to have a diary. So you have to write
Mhm.
a diary about things every day.
Mhm.
There's no way what you said is possible. I will start with that. There's no way someone can write a viral tweet just out of the blue. It's impossible. And there's one way to make it possible, which is not instant, but it is pretty realistic. So you have to write things like stories about you every day,
Mhm.
few stories about you. It can be stories about past, it can be stories about today, anything, but little stories, little stories. You're right. And you have them in your notes. You have to have like 50 of them there sitting. That's job number one. Anyone can do that, right?
Mhm.
Then you have to open that list the next day, all 50, and read them all again. All of them. Just read them again
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
shorten. Like read and try to remove words and do that every day.
Mhm.
And then eventually you will realize that it's really boring to read, but you have to read. You can't cheat. And just to save yourself time and stop torturing yourself, you will start improving those stories so that it's easier to read for yourself because you are the user. You are the one that has to be captured.
Mhm.
You are the same as the others that has to be captured. This. And most likely you hate reading
Mhm.
your own stuff. 100% you hate it because it's just not easy. But if it was good, you would love reading it because you read stuff, right? Because you love it, but you don't want to read your own stuff. So you kind of
Mhm.
do that
Mhm.
for a long time, and then once you see the tweet that you like among all, it's easier to compare. When there's one, it's hard to judge. But when you have 50, you suddenly see that one is so much easier to read than the others. Like the others are tough, but one is really good,
Mhm.
easy to read. You almost remember it. So you already remember every word of that tweet. If you're able to remember the tweet, it means it's a good
Mhm.
tweet. Because it's impossible to remember bad text. It has to be good to be remembered.
Mhm.
That's the simplest task. And then you take that and you tweet it. So you don't have to, based on timing and everything, for the start, ignore that, just tweet it. It will not go viral, but it will get some likes, some views. Once you have more than one, but you have 10, 20 of those iterated, polished stories, from now on, you open Twitter, you scroll, you find 10 or 20 viral tweets of the day from other makers. You see what's the topic that's common across all. You see the replies, and then you look which of your good stories fits the most. You pick the one that fits the most, you publish it. Now you have very
Mhm.
high chance to go viral. And that's the only way, I think. The all the other ways are you have to have this natural talent for storytelling and everything, but this one is more like a boring way of doing it that I think anyone can do. It just have to put time into it.
That sounds doable.
Yeah, the first step, write stories in your notes, at least one a day. In a month, you're gonna have 30, right? And then keep making them shorter.
Just from what I do, my daily stories, like
It doesn't
I
matter.
coded something, I
Like
read a
doesn't
tweet.
matter at all because when you read your
Okay.
story again, if it's boring, you will not want to read it and you will start changing it and your story will turn into other story. So that's why like don't really think what you write, just that it's interesting. Because you don't have to talk
Mm.
about products. You can talk about anything because you don't go to Twitter to read about products every day from makers. You will read everything that's interesting. Often even the opposite. You want to read something that's not about product because if you're not famous maker, you probably have not that much to talk about too. Like you probably don't have the experience and you've been doing it for a short while. So anything that you like rereading tomorrow, and you will be shocked that the day after you open and it looks like shit, everything you wrote. Not
Mhm.
others saying
Mhm.
that you will read your own stuff and you're going to be feeling that that's the worst text you have ever seen. That will happen. And then you're going to improve it and you'll think it's good. But you're going to come tomorrow again and you will see that everything you improve is still bad. If you keep doing that for a long while, eventually one day you will see that, wow, this one is so much better than the others. And that's probably the moment when you will turn, the tipping moment when you will realize that what's the difference between not interesting and interesting stories or texts. We have to get someone to
Did
do
you
this
see anyone?
challenge. Maybe we start
Yeah.
30-day challenge.
Hmm,
We ask people
good idea.
we ask people to pay $100 to participate. Everyone who gets all the way to day number 30 gets all the money back. Emily,
I am laughing because you were speaking about these uh, dreamers, makers who have families to feed, and now you say, "Pay me 100 if you are lucky, you'll get money." And those guys, "Sorry, honey, today no dinner again. I have to bet this 100
no, you'll
because
have to.
this is what make me rich."
I think, you know, I think learning to be interesting is something people have to be obsessed with. And if I was to give one tip to anyone in the world who isn't interesting, that would be this. It wouldn't be learn to code, learn to design, work, I don't know, health, anything. Like it's all irrelevant. I think this is the most important. I think
Mm.
the world of the future will benefit interesting people the most. And the difference will be huge. Like 99% of all attention and value of the world will be
Mhm.
captured by people who are interesting. Emily, close the door.
Okay. Before running this challenge, I want more people to get involved into this idea to found a tweet before you found a startup, and more people try to make tweets, and then they have some
Yeah.
maybe at least a dozen, I guess, people who are trying that. Then we can make a challenge just for fun and to make Dagobert poor because we will now teach people how to dominate Twitter instead of him. Haha.
Yeah, good idea. I'm trying to help my friends to be on Twitter. You see
Oh yeah, how is going? I saw that.
you see that? I think it's going okay. I think they could be doing way better, but I think there is some progress.
Okay.
There is very
Wait.
small progress,
Mhm.
but there is. I think the main problem is that I actually wrote a tweet that I didn't publish, which is
Okay.
I think people don't realize that they have to put certain effort into certain things. So, for example, there is this philosopher saying that when you marry someone, you stay together for life. When you pick someone to marry, you usually don't put as much effort into picking the right one. In reality, if you're going to stay with a person for life, maybe you should put nearly equal amount of time into picking the right person. So what I
Mm.
mean here is that some things are so valuable that you have to put a lot of time into them. And it's very difficult to put a lot of time into writing and learning to write for people because they are not used to it. They have never seen this. Like people know that you have to put a lot of time into learning to play football or learning piano. They know it, right? So to learn piano, you have to play what's that? Like 10 like at least 1,000 hours. At least 1,000,
Mhm.
right? But if you tell someone that you have to put the same amount of time to write good tweets, the chance is nearly zero that somebody gonna take you serious because it
Mhm.
feels like it has to just come out of you naturally.
Mm.
And if it
Yeah.
doesn't, then it feels very shamey to actually try to put so much time into this. I had that with my wife, for example. But there are certain things she's not
Mm.
good at. And I told her, like, you're not good at certain things.
What's that?
Well, those are like things we do in bed. But then
Okay.
a lot of different
Continue.
things. And but she's great at many things too. But I told her, like, if you're not good at something, then to get good at that, you have to admit that you're not good at that, and you have to devote certain time into it. Not an hour, hundreds of hours. And that's the way you learn
Mhm.
things. And I think in our society, it is like, for example, someone is bad at public speaking, or someone is bad at text, someone is bad at at walking. Like
Okay.
there are girls who don't walk beautifully. Like they walk in a non-beautiful way. And some
Okay.
girls walk in a beautiful way. And it's very difficult for a girl who doesn't walk in a beautiful way to learn to walk in a beautiful way. It's very difficult. Why? Because there is this intuition that says that if if I'm not good at that, then that's the reality. And if I try to get good at that, I will try. People don't consider that it is like a craft. You have to actually learn it. And whenever I try to teach people to tweet, and in this particular
Mhm.
example, I try to teach founder to tweet, my take is that, hey, you have to spend today 4 hours on this. That's my take. It's important. It's so important that 4 hours is maybe even too little. And he said, oh, I can't be spending all my time on this. And I'm like, all right, l- let's look at you now and your business. What's your problem? He says, marketing. So why don't you spend 4 hours on learning to tweet if marketing is your problem? Right?
Mm.
And it is very difficult to
Mm.
understand and to apply because something is wrong with
Mhm.
this. I don't know why, but I've never seen anyone saying, "All right, so I don't know how to tweet. I will spend 4 hours of every day for the next year, every day 4 hours learning to tweet." I've never seen that. I did that, by the way. I spent 4 hours every day when I joined Twitter in 2022 to learn to tweet
Mhm.
because, and I do that every time when I don't know something. But for most people, it's difficult to accept. So most people who buys Dagobert's course, or they will probably spend, I don't know, 5 hours learning, and after that they will just tweet. It's like, you're not funny. Your jokes are not funny. If you're more funny, I'm your wife, and I like you to be more funny because it's cool when you're funny. You make me smile, and the stress is gone. So how
Mhm.
about you spend few hours every day try learning to be more funny? Imagine you are being told that. You will feel resistance, you'll feel bad, and you will not do that. But you have to if you want to be funny. Because if you were funny, then you don't have to. But if you're not, the only way to become funny is put a lot of time into it every day. So that's why everyone thinks there is a secret for something, but there is no secret
Mhm.
for anything. Everything is done in a way that you just put a lot of time into a thing every day, learning. Some people say, I tweet every day. No, tweeting every day doesn't mean you'll learn because you can be saying jokes which are not funny all your life and never learn it, right? So the right way is to do things that help you learn. It's like you can go play football every day all your life and never become a pro player. To become pro player, you have to actually learn certain things. You have to start the morning with certain drills, with certain routine, and then you play. Like that's the reality of sport. When I did judo, we would wrestle for 5 minutes a day, literally 5 minutes, and the rest was drills. We would just do all the different drills, and it was so boring because we wanted to wrestle. Same here, but nobody
Yeah,
gonna
but
do that.
making jokes on making tweets is it's so natural. It's not like a piano. Piano is something you had to learn before
That's
you even make
that's
one tune.
exactly why people can't do
But
that because they think that it's natural. They think that someone got it for
yeah,
free. Why do I have to put effort? People think like,
yeah,
why?
exactly. Tell me what. Yes, okay.
You're unlucky and you didn't get it for free. Some have it for free, some don't.
People don't want to feel unlucky.
Well, but that's the reality. Like, uh, I walked that path. I was I was having no impact on social media for all my life. And then I thought, I have friends who have. I have friends with millions of followers. And I was very jealous. And I thought, all right, so he's lucky. He's just naturally funny. He's naturally interesting. He's charismatic.
Mhm.
But then I thought in 2022, when I saw Twitter and I saw Peter and I saw Danny and Thibaut and I saw that they basically have this huge power over distribution, and I want
Mhm.
the same power over distribution. How could I get it? And my first idea, as you remember, was to hire someone who will be that power. I hired a girl and I
Yeah.
paid her, and she spent a year trying to become a power, and she became a little bit of a power. And then she
Mhm.
left, and then I had no other choice but to do it myself. To be honest, I didn't believe I will do it. I had I had zero bets on getting where I am now with all the social media efforts I've done. But I had
Mhm.
no choice, and I was used to doing this before. So I've done that before where I learned something because like design, I have no natural eye for design. Not at all.
Mhm.
When I was little, I couldn't even see colors properly. But I knew that I had to have good taste in design. I have to know UX well. And some people have it out of the box, and I have to spend years learning it. But who cares? That's my problem. I have to learn. I have to learn, and I did. And same with all other things. So I think people have to like if someone is able to get to the same understanding I got, I think they will be unstoppable, because it is some things require talent. Like for example, my memory. I think I'm born with it because when I was little, I could
Mhm.
remember entire movies. I could just tell 2 hours old movie, every word of the movie. And but other things, I was way worse than average when I was starting, and I managed to master it just because I was doing it every day for a long time, many hours, not quitting, many hours. It is very cliche. I say just keep doing and keep doing, but I
Yeah.
I don't mean just keep showing up. That's very stupid take, to be honest. Like showing up, the whole Twitter is showing up every day and nobody's successful almost. Like it is not gonna work. I know people who are tweeting for 3 years and still have 100 followers. Where is the showing up working? It doesn't work. That's the case for 99% of the people on Twitter. Like those who don't have followers, check their feed, check their profile. They've been posting for 10 years maybe, but they still don't have followers. So you have to be doing the things you have to do every day to learn the craft. That's the right strategy, not just doing random stuff, but doing something that has to be done. And for Twitter, I just mentioned what has to be done. You have to write stories, reread your stories, then you have to read the feed, see which story is relevant for this day based on the current hype, post it. Do it every day, every single day, and there is zero chance you will fail if you do this. But there is very high chance you will fail to actually write and read your stories. Most will fail writing. Those who won't fail on writing the stories will fail on reading them. They will say, like they will read one day, second day, on third day, they will be lazy. On fourth day, they will say,
Mm.
I will skip just one day. On fifth day, they will just forget. But if I have the gun on your head and I force you to do this every day, I guarantee you in 30 days, you will have good content. Like literally, I guarantee you, if I have the gun on your head and I force you to do this every day, no skip, every day, 4 hours.
I recalled this scene from the Fight Club movie. There was a guy who had a dream to become a veterinarian, and he was busy with routine and life, and he couldn't chase his dream because he was busy with chasing
Oh,
money.
yeah.
You can do the same. You can just put a gun on the head and say, "Do stories every day."
I mean, you can apply this to anything. Like the reason
Yeah,
people
yeah.
don't get somewhere is because they don't do the work. They think they
You
do,
just
and
put yourself a gun
yeah,
against your head. Just do it yourself.
exactly. I mean, I understand it's difficult. It's as difficult as to lose weight. Well, maybe there is a secret. No, there is no secret. Just eat less every day. Do not eat much every day. That's it. There's nothing else to do, and you're gonna lose weight. Everyone gonna lose weight if they do that. But it's difficult to do. We know what to do, but it's difficult. I don't know why it's difficult because we're not as good as we want to be with being our own masters. So we're not controlling ourselves. We have all these impulses, uh, all the other things pushing us to do certain
Yeah, this
stuff.
is why we are humans. It's okay to be weak. It's fine. Don't be depressed, please. Nobody. It's good to be weak. I have weaknesses too. I have problems with obesity. I have problems with nicotine.
Which
And
obesity?
I eat a lot of food. Like I can get fat overnight. Like this.
uh,
When you met me a few months
yeah.
ago, you saw how fat can I be, and it's not the end. It's not the
So,
limit.
it's same problem,
Um,
but
I have
that's
this.
slightly different problem. It's like you and me, we're the people who can overconsume anything.
Yeah, understand. Okay, that was intense. Thank you for this episode. Bye, John. Bye, everybody. See you next week.